Hello everyone, Riff Raff Hornhelm here once again with another presentation from the Dwarven Vault. Today we have a Fail Tale. Yay! So today's Fail Tale, once again, as a part of our pivot where we're talking about the gaming systems rather than a specific incident. Today we're going to talk about a true fail in my view. The most useless character class ever in D&D, and right from the start. Now, some of you who watched my previous episode about magic users are saying, oh, well, you already did the magic user. I don't consider the magic user to be the worst. They're difficult to have survive, but that's a different problem. The worst, overall, to start with in D&D, was the Druid. The Druid was a best of intentions paving the road to hell. It's a cool character if you're in an outdoor-only adventure. Anything other than that, it's not a very useful character. There's a lot of reasons for why the Druid isn't very useful, and certainly the composition of the character in terms of what it was capable of, how it could fight, some of the limitations it had, made them less apt to be successful. I mean, we can definitely talk about some of these. You were limited to organic armor, so it had to be like leather and a wooden shield. Well, that's, even though you're a subclass, so to speak, of the cleric, diminishing your ability to defend yourself on that side is not particularly helpful. At the same time, you had the limitations on weapons that a cleric had. Yes, later you got the scimitar, but the reality is that you were very limited on what you could use for weapons. And most druids, at least in the early stages of the game, tended to prefer having just a quarterstaff. They'd read too many books. On top of all of this, you had a limited number of spells that were of use. Yes, you could use cleric spells, but the specific druid class spells themselves were not very helpful, unless you were outdoors. Well, in the early days of the game, particularly the first 5 to 10 years, the vast majority, and I do mean the vast majority of adventures or the critical parts of adventures, were underground. Druid just didn't fit in very well under those circumstances. On top of all this, they were somewhat limited as to what they could use for magic, not only just the spells that they were limited to. And I'm talking about the fact that, they could use magic items that were for any class. But really, they were really limited because, number one, they can't read. So they can't use scrolls. Wow. They can't have a spell book. That's everything in their memory. That I can deal with easier than I can the fact that they can't read at all. It knocked them down. And of course, if you look at magic items, yes, there are some that are usable by any class, and that's a fair number, but druid-specific items, far few and in between. Couldn't do anything. You were a pretty damn useless character when it came to any kind of underground dungeon. Okay, I know. You can 3 times a day change into something. It can be a bird or a mammal or a reptile, but it can't be more than 50% bigger than you in terms of look. And the way they put it in the original book was if you were a human and you were changing into a bear, you'd be something like a black bear. Now, of course, one of the most severe problems with being a druid, I mean, it's not just that it's bad enough that you're kind of limited in your weapons and you're certainly limited in your armor. And on top of all this, you can't dual class. Which to me is just, I get it. the purity of the druid is assured, and really they wouldn't be anything else as part of being a druid, at least in theory, when the game was developed. And okay, I guess, but it gives you no saving grace. It doesn't allow you to combine the outdoor elements of a druid with some real functionality when you're doing a underground dungeon, or frankly even a town. I mean, yes, the being able to change into the other creatures is cool, but beyond that, I mean, it's kind of a one-trick pony. Not being able to dual class is the death knell for this particular character. A druid is not very effective, as we've said over and over again, which is why really nobody used it. So the fact that you can be a cleric and be dual class is the saving grace for many clerics out there, especially for a party that wants to keep healing in the party and yet not have their ability to attack and defend be diminished by somebody who has a limited palette. So being able to do something like a fighter cleric is that's pretty useful. There's no option for that with druid. So is what it is, right? In the time frame in which the game came out, the idea of a druid character was ultra cool. A lot of people wanted to try them. I was interested in trying them until I saw it fall on its face so many times. Saw how frustrated the players were with what it could do. How much the abilities needed to be massaged in order to make them more survivable in the game. It wasn't pleasurable for anybody in the process. And to be very honest, within a few years, everybody who had been keen on playing a druid character gave up. There was a small resurgence after Unearthed Arcana came out, but there wasn't enough changes to the character class in that for people to stick with it. So really, Druid dropped off the map. It's a sad outcome for, once again, something that was a very good intention in the game, which was to bring a character that would be exceptional in outdoor venues. Problem is with this game, outdoor venues have to be able to translate into usefulness underground. It's in the name of the game, dungeons. Okay? You're gonna spend a fair amount of time underground. If you are a druid's probably not for you. But once again, that's 1E. I am familiar with the changes in the druid to 5E. I'm not going to say whether I really agree or disagree. It has certainly made them a more viable character amongst the pantheon of characters that are now available for the game. Today is different, but back in the day when this started, the druid, at least in my very humble opinion, is far and away the worst of the original player classes. That's my view. And that's today's Fail Tale. Hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something, hope you found it entertaining. If you did, consider giving us a thumbs up, share with your friends, leave us a comment, consider subscribing. Come back and see us again real soon. We certainly thank you for all your support. Take care, everyone, and remember, dwarves rock!